started riding 5 years ago, he was a 60% guy. Well, my wife tells me I'm about a 10% guy most of the time, but Guy was a 60% guy because 60% of guys in Canada will not be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. But, yeah, that's right, shut those people up in the back that are talking. So, but a couple of years ago, Guy turned into a 40% guy. So 40% of guys, actually I think it's 42% to be accurate, 42% of guys will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And Guy was unfortunately one of those guys. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our final speaker of the night, Guy Alberga, who is a multi-year rider and cancer survivor.
Good evening, riders. My name is Guy Alberga, and I want to give you a short description of my journey with the Ride to Conquer Cancer. But first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Steve Merker, because he and his staff have done another unbelievable job this year. I know that Steve is fantastic with logistics, but last night I checked the weather forecast and it said 60 to 80% chance of showers today. And somehow he managed to wipe that out completely. I don't know what his special connections are, but he's got some. However, Steve, if you could work on the wind, that would be appreciated. So, as Steve mentioned, I'm a 6-year rider. And I got involved in the ride because, like many of you, a buddy suggested this would be a fun event too, and a challenge event, and allow us to help the community. Some family members of mine and some close colleagues had battled with cancer. So I thought, this would be a great way of giving back to the community, having some fun, and maybe, hopefully improving my fitness even a little bit. So I joined Team SGNC. And for the first 3 years, we had fun. I was inspired by the PMH doctors and survivors, and enjoyed the amazing camaraderie here at camp every year. All that changed in December of 2013. That's when my doctor told me that I had transitional cell cancer in the lining of my ureter. The doctor who had diagnosed me did not work with PMH, but she immediately referred me to doctors at PMH because she told me that they were the best in the field. Doctors Sridhar and Fleshner instilled confidence in me after laying out my specific treatment protocol. I was to receive 4 rounds of chemotherapy over the next 3 months, followed by major surgery to remove my kidney and ureter. Those 4 months were the toughest of my life, but I was determined to remain positive and optimistic. The PMH nurses were incredibly compassionate, made me feel at ease. My amazing wife, family, kids, close friends, all of them are sitting in the front here. They were remarkable in their unwavering support and were by my side every step of the way. When he heard about my diagnosis, my son immediately said, "Dad, I'm going to ride for you in the Ride to Conquer Cancer this year. Don't worry about it." My daughter sat with me during incredibly tedious and long hours of chemo in the hospital, holding my hand all the time. And the doctors and nurses at PMH were incredibly compassionate and provided the best care possible. Are there any chemo nurses here tonight? Any chemo nurses? Too bad, because those guys were unbelievable. So after 3 tough months of chemo, the next challenge was to endure a 7-hour surgical procedure. Now, I had never had major surgery before, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. When Dr. Fleshner came in to check on me before the procedure, he reassured me everything was going to be fine. Then he took a colored marker and proceeded to draw a line down my stomach from my chest all the way down to my pelvis. I said, "Well, why are you doing that?" He said, "Well, that's where we need to cut you." The blood immediately drained from my head. I had no idea that I needed a 12-inch incision. It was then that I understood this was not going to be a walk in the park. When I woke up next, I knew what it was like to be hit by the proverbial bus. I remained in hospital for the next 11 days, then went home to recover, and it was a slow recovery. I knew that I had to set some goals for myself to motivate me to recover quicker. I thought about the ride, it was coming up in about a month, and wondered, would I ever be able to participate? When I told Dr. Fleshner at my 6-week checkup that I was thinking about doing the ride that summer, he told me, "You're fucking crazy." It's true. The next week, I got on my bicycle and gingerly rode around the block a couple of times. I followed that up with a couple short rides and started thinking, maybe something was possible. So, what I was thinking was, I'd like to participate and maybe I could ride to the first rest stop on Saturday. My SGNC teammates, they all thought that I was crazy, but they were incredibly supportive. I also had my son at my side. He was going to be riding in front of me the whole way as my domestique. So, Saturday morning, I put on my gear and I headed to the opening ceremonies. The whole time I was completely choked up listening to the opening speeches. When they brought in the rider with the bicycle with no rider, I couldn't hold back the tears. But I was determined to do as much as I could to remember those who were less fortunate than me. Every step of the way, my SGNC teammates were checking up on me and encouraging me at the same time. That day I rode until lunchtime thinking maybe I could do a little bit more on Sunday, so I needed to keep a little bit in reserve. That night at camp, it was amazing to be there. My whole family joined me. It was a celebration. There were no dry eyes in our family, and more than a few beers and scotches got drunk that night. The next day, I thought I'd set out and again try to do maybe one or two pit stops. But at each stop, I told myself, you can make it to the next stop. Just keep going. That day, I rode 100 kilometers. Team SGNC were there for me at the finish, and we all crossed the line together, raising our arms in victory. It was an incredible moment that I will never forget. That was 2 years ago. I'm really happy to say that I've been cancer-free since then. I credit the ride for getting me back on my feet, literally, and back in the saddle, and giving me the motivation to do something positive to fight this disease. I still see my doctors for regular monitoring, and I'm so thankful to them for their outstanding treatment and care, and everything that they've given to me, and they continue to provide. So I am living proof that the doctors, nurses, healthcare workers at PMH are doing an amazing job of treating patients with cancer. I can say with certainty that the money raised at this event and others like it to fund critical research will eventually conquer cancer. Everyone here is making that possible and making a difference in cancer patients' lives. So on behalf of all of the cancer patients here tonight, we thank you so much. So thanks very much for listening. Good luck with the ride tomorrow, and may the tailwind be at your back the whole way.